The stars burn with war, the galaxy was burning. World after world lit up like candles in the dark. Fleets of alien ships clashed in the void, leaving behind broken hulls and drifting bodies. For months, the stars had been filled with fire, and no corner of the galaxy was safe from war. It began with two empires arguing over borders, but greed spreads fast. Soon, every major power joined the fight. Old enemies settled scores. Old alliances broke apart. And now, the galaxy itself was drowning in war. Billions screamed. Billions more were already gone. But in all the chaos, one name was whispered again and again. One name that froze every commander, every soldier, and every politician. Humanity. Where were the humans? What would they do? The strange thing was no one knew. In the past, humanity had been small compared to the great empires. A new species? Still growing, still exploring. But everyone remembered their reputation. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the oldest. They were not even the most advanced. And yet, they had survived everything thrown at them. Worlds with deadly storms. Planets filled with monsters. Even the cruelest wars they had endured. Other species called Earth a death world, a place too dangerous for life to survive. And yet, from that dangerous place, humans had risen and reached the stars. So when the galaxy fell into war, many expected humanity to join one side or perhaps to strike both. But weeks passed, then months, and humanity said nothing. Their fleets stayed hidden. Their colonies fell silent. It was as if Earth itself had vanished. Across the galaxy, rumors grew. Some said the humans had destroyed themselves. Others said they were too weak, too afraid to fight. A few believed something worse, that they were waiting, watching, and preparing for the right moment. The silence of Earth was louder than the war itself. And to many, that silence was terrifying. On the neutral trade world of Kethra, a meeting took place in a grand hall. Alien leaders argued under the shadow of a burning sky. Refugees filled the streets outside, and explosions could still be heard from orbit. The humans are gone, one warlord declared. His armor was covered in blood, his voice loud and proud. They are nothing. If they were strong, they would already be here. A quiet laugh came from the corner. An older alien, scarred and weary, looked at him with tired eyes. "You fool," the elder said. "If you do not see the danger, then you will die blind. The humans are not gone. They are waiting, and when they answer, the galaxy will never forget it." His words chilled the room. Far from Kethra, a lone scout ship drifted near the edge of human space. Its crew of alien mercenaries searched for signs of life, any colony, any fleet, any outpost. For days they found nothing but silence. Then, on the fifth day, they picked up a faint signal. It was not a distress call. It was not a message of surrender. It was only two words. Earth remembers. The crew froze. Some argued it was a trick. Others begged to leave at once. But before they could decide, their scanners lit up. A shape appeared in the void, not a fleet, not an armada. One ship. Its hull was black as night, its engines silent, its weapons hidden. But on its side was a symbol the galaxy had not seen in years. The flag of Earth. The scout ship turned to flee, but it was already too late. The human ship did not fire. It did not speak. It only vanished back into the stars, leaving the crew shaking with fear. They knew what they had seen. And soon, the galaxy would know too. Back on Kethra, whispers began to spread. First in quiet taverns, and in war councils, then across the fleets. A ship had been seen. A human ship. Some laughed. Some denied it. But deep down, every soldier, every commander, every empire remembered one thing. Humans never fought fair. They would not meet in armada with another armada. They would not send millions of soldiers to die. No, humans were cunning. They waited. They planned. And when the moment came, they struck like predators from the dark. If even one human ship was out there, then more were coming. And if more were coming, the war would never be the same again. The stars continued to burn. Fleets clashed. Worlds died. But under it all, a shadow moved quietly, unseen, unheard. Humanity was not silent forever. They were only waiting to give their answer. And when they did, the galaxy would change forever. Asterisk whispers of humanity's return. Galaxy did not sleep. Not anymore. Not every empire, every fleet, every soldier lived with one fear, that the humans had returned, that it began as a whisper. A story told in smoke-filled taverns. A frightened tale carried by refugees. One scout ship claimed it had seen a human vessel near the edge of known space. Some laughed, saying the crew was drunk or mad. But others remembered the words carved into history. Earth remembers. And when the galaxy remembered Earth, no one slept easy. On the war-torn world of Voker Prime, a soldier sat in the ruins of a burning city. His body was broken, his armor cracked. He had survived 3 battles in a row, but his spirit was empty. Around him, the streets were filled with ash and silence. He heard it first from another wounded fighter. "They say a human ship was seen," the soldier whispered. "Just one, but they say it destroyed an entire fleet." The soldier laughed bitterly. One ship against a fleet? Lies. But when he looked into the other's eyes, he saw no humor. Only fear. In the grand palace of the Krex Dominion, leaders argued around a long black table. Their fleets were burning in distant systems, their colonies falling apart. But the topic was not the war. It was humanity. "We must confirm if they—" "Live," one general growled. "If humans are back, the balance of power will shift. We cannot allow it." Another slammed his clawed hand against the table. "Nonsense. Humanity is weak. They hid during the first days of war. They are cowards." A third voice cut through the shouting. It belonged to an old admiral with silver scars across his face. He had fought humans before, long ago, in a forgotten border skirmish. His eyes were cold as the void. "Cowards?" He said softly. "No, humans are hunters. They never rush. They watch. They wait. Then they strike where it hurts most." The room fell silent. Meanwhile, rumors grew stranger. In the mining colonies of the Rim, traders swore they saw shadows in the void, massive shapes that moved without engines, vanishing like ghosts. Some said they were human warships cloaked. In darkness. In the core worlds, frightened politicians whispered that entire fleets had gone missing near old Earth sectors. No wreckage was found, no survivors. Only silence. A chilling idea began to spread. Perhaps the humans were not simply waiting. Perhaps they were already here. On a distant moon, an alien smuggler named Rax discovered something that made his blood run cold. His ship had picked up a faint signal, old but still repeating. He traced it through layers of static until the words came clear. A human voice. Calm, cold. "We warned you once. You did not listen. The next time, you will." Rax tried to erase it, but the words followed him, echoing in his head. He could not sleep. He could not eat. Finally, he sold his ship and disappeared into the shadows. But before he vanished, he told one other smuggler what he had heard. Within days, the message had spread across 100 worlds. On the battlefield of Telrose, an alien commander prepared his fleet for another bloody engagement. His officers argued over formations and numbers. But then his communications officer ran forward, pale with terror. "Sir," he stammered, "we've received the transmission." "From whom?" The commander barked. The officer swallowed hard. "From them." The bridge went silent. Even without saying the name, everyone knew. The commander's throat went dry. Slowly, he ordered the message to be played. The screen flickered. For a moment, there was only static. Then a symbol appeared white against the black. A simple flag, Earth's. Flag. The crew gasped. Some backed away. Others fell silent, staring. The symbol stayed for 10 seconds. Then the transmission ended. No words, no threats. Only the reminder that humanity was watching. Fear spread faster than war. Entire empires that once laughed at humanity now began to tremble. If one ship had been seen, then surely there were more. If one message had been sent, then surely a fleet waited in the dark. Soldiers in the trenches whispered about humans, like they were ghosts. Children in refugee camps dreamed of human warriors appearing in the skies. Even leaders began to lose sleep, staring into the stars, afraid of what might come, because everyone knew one truth. When humanity answered, they answered with fire. One night, in a dark chamber on the hidden world of Anis, a secret council met. Leaders from rival empires who once swore to kill each other now sat side by side, that all feared the same enemy. Humanity must not return. One hissed, "They already have," another whispered. "They are not gods," shouted a third. "If they bleed, we can kill them." But silence fell again when the elder among them spoke. His voice was heavy, his face grave. "You do not understand," he said. "This war is not about us anymore. It is about them. And if the whispers are true, then the galaxy is already lost." In the far reaches of space, unseen by any eye, a fleet drifted in silence. Black holes, silent engines, weapons sleeping. Human ships. They had waited long enough. And soon the whispers would turn to screams. Asterisk. The first human strike the galaxy burned on. War fleets filled the stars. Empires rose and fell in weeks. But now, fear had a new name: humanity. Whispers turned into rumors. Rumors turned into warnings. And then, warnings became truth. It happened. On the world of Dravik Prime, a fortress planet guarded by the mighty Zarkan Empire. The Zarkans were proud, cruel, and feared across half the galaxy. Their fleets were huge, their weapons unmatched. And on this day, their armada of 60 warships gathered above Dravik Prime, ready to crush the last resistance in the system. The Zarkan admiral stood tall on his command bridge, his voice sharp, with arrogance. "Once this system falls," he declared, "the galaxy will see our power. No species will dare rise against us again." His officers cheered. Victory was certain, but then a faint signal appeared on their scanners. One ship, not Zarkan, not allied, not enemy. Unknown. The admiral frowned. "Identify it." The scanner officer's hands shook. "Sir, it's human." For a moment, silence filled the bridge. Then laughter broke out. "Human? Impossible. One ship? Against 60? Madness." The admiral smirked. "Destroy it. End this joke." The fleet turned, weapons locking on to the lone intruder. The ship was small compared to their massive war cruisers. Its black hull reflected no light. It drifted slowly, almost lazily, as if it did not care about the armada before it. The Zarkan admiral raised his hand. Fire, the void lit up with. A storm of plasma, missiles, and beams of light. The sky itself seemed to explode, but when the fire cleared, the human ship was still there. Untouched. Moving. Now. Silent. Swift. Deadly. The first Zarkan cruiser vanished in a burst of fire, torn apart before it could even raise shields. Then another. Then 2 more. The human ship moved like a predator among prey. It weaved between their attacks with impossible precision. Its weapons fired only when needed, each shot cutting through armor, each strike a kill. The admiral screamed orders. Surround it, block its path, crush it. But the fleet was in chaos. Ships collided, officers panicked, and discipline shattered. 60. Warships against one, and the one was winning. On the ground below, soldiers and civilians watched the sky. They saw fire rain down as Zarkan cruisers fell one by one. They heard the explosions echo through the atmosphere. And then they saw it. The human ship. Dark, silent, relentless. It carved through the armada, like a blade through glass. For the first time in generations, the Zarkans, the terror of the galaxy, were afraid. The admiral's voice broke with rage. This is impossible. One ship cannot. Before he finished, the human vessel appeared before his command cruiser. Its weapons locked, glowing with deadly light. And then, for the first time, the human spoke. A voice filled every channel, calm and cold. We warned you. You did not listen. This is our answer. The admiral froze. His officers trembled. And then the human ship fired. The command cruiser exploded, its wreckage scattering across the stars. The Zarkan fleet broke apart in terror, fleeing into the void. But no matter how far they ran, the voice followed them in their minds. This is our answer. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, every empire, every fleet, every soldier heard of what had happened at Dravik Prime. One human ship, 60 warships destroyed, an empire humiliated. It was not just a battle. It was a message. Humanity had returned. On a refugee ship fleeing the war, a child asked her mother, "Is it true? Are the humans here?" The mother looked into the stars, her eyes wet with hope and fear. "Yes," she whispered, "and the galaxy will never be the same again." But while the galaxy trembled, humanity did not celebrate. In hidden space, far from watching eyes, their black fleet remained silent. The first strike had been made. The first message delivered. No. The galaxy knew they were back. And soon, humanity's true plan would begin. Asterisk. Humanity's message. The galaxy was silent. The Battle of Dravik Prime had ended. 60 warships destroyed by only one human vessel. The story spread faster than light. No one could deny it any more. Humanity had returned. But then came something worse than war. A message. It happened at the same time, across 1,000 worlds. In the middle of the night, when the skies were calm, every screen, every comms device, every broadcast flickered with static. Merchants froze as their trading screens went dark. Soldiers stopped in their trenches as their helmets buzzed with noise. Children screamed when the holoscreens in their homes went blank. And then, the static cleared. A single image appeared. The Earth flag, white and sharp against the black, echoed in palaces and war rooms. Leaders leaned forward in fear. It had been centuries since anyone had seen that symbol. And then a voice followed. Calm, cold, human. This is humanity's reply. Across the galaxy, billions listened in silence. As the voice continued, we left the stars once, not by choice, but by force. You called us weak. You banished us. You thought we would die in the dark. A pause. Static crackled. You were wrong. In the Krex Dominion Palace, generals stood frozen as the voice filled their halls. We watched you. We saw the wars you started. We saw the worlds you burned. You fought for power. You killed for glory. And you thought no one was watching. The admiral with the silver scars clenched his fists. He had warned them. But humanity remembers everything. On refugee ships, entire families huddled together, listening. Some cried. Some smiled. The voice grew sharper, colder. At Dravik Prime, we showed you a warning. One ship, one battle. That is not our power. It is only a fraction. Do not test. What comes next? On the war front, alien soldiers dropped their weapons. They had fought for years against empires, against rebels, against beasts from the void. But this was different. This was the return of the ghosts. They had all feared. The message did not end with threats. The voice softened, though it was no less terrifying. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to rule. We are here because war has consumed the stars, and we will end it. If you raise your fleets against us, they will burn. If you seek peace, then you will live. A silence followed, heavy as stone. Then the voice delivered the final line. Choose wisely. This is humanity's message. The transmission ended. Screens went dark. Silence returned. But nothing was the same. On distant colony worlds, rebels rose with new hope. The humans are with us, they whispered. We can fight back. On core empire planets, rulers panicked. Armies were recalled. Fleets were pulled back as fear of human strikes spread. In the shadows, spies traded desperate information. Where the human fleet might be hiding, how many ships there were, what technology they carried. No one had answers. Only one truth remained. Humanity had spoken, and their message was clear. In a dark war council chamber, rival leaders gathered again. They were furious, afraid, desperate. They threaten us all, one roared. They promise peace. Another argued. They promise death if we refuse. A third shouted. The elder among them slammed his fist down. His eyes burned with fear and memory. You fools! This is not a threat. It is a warning. If we fight them, we lose. If we run, they will follow. There is only one choice left. The others leaned forward. And what is that? The elder's voice was barely a whisper. Obey. Meanwhile, in the hidden reaches of space, the human fleet remained silent. Hundreds of ships floated in the dark, their black hulls invisible against the void. Inside the flagship, a captain stood before his crew. His eyes were sharp, his voice steady. Message delivered, he said. Now we wait. The crew nodded. None of them smiled. None of them cheered, for they knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had returned. But the war for the galaxy's soul had only just begun. Asterisk. The galaxy strikes back. The galaxy had heard humanity's message, and it had trembled. But fear does not last forever. Fear turns into anger. Anger turns into action. And so the great empires gathered. On the glittering world of Zorath Prime, 1,000 leaders met under one dome. Alien flags hung from silver arches. Generals, admirals, and rulers filled the vast chamber, their voices rising in fury. The humans must be destroyed. One shouted, his voice echoing. They humiliated us at Dravik Prime. Another roared. They dare threaten the galaxy itself. Cried a third. For once, enemies sat side by side. The Krex Dominion, the Zarkan Empire, the Vayari Union, the Serati clans, even smaller powers, who had hated each other for centuries, now shared the same fear. At the center of the chamber, the High Chancellor of the Council raised his claws for silence. His face was pale with anger. They send one ship, destroy 60 of ours, and speak as if they rule us all, he said. We cannot allow this. If we wait, they will grow stronger. If we hesitate, they will strike again. His voice hardened. We must strike first, together. And so it was decided. The galaxy's mightiest fleets would unite into one armada, an army of thousands, drawn from every empire. An alliance built not on trust, but on fear. Across the stars, fleets gathered. War factories roared to life. Planets emptied their shipyards, launching cruisers, dreadnoughts, carriers, and swarms of fighters. Every broadcast showed the same image. Endless lines of alien warships. Banners waving, soldiers chanting. To the common people, it looked unstoppable. The galaxy was finally united. But deep inside, cracks were already forming. The Zarkon commanders grumbled that their ships should lead. The Krex Dominion sneered that their weapons were superior. The Vayara Union refused to share intelligence, fearing betrayal. Allies in name, rivals in truth dark and in the shadows. Whispers spread. What if humanity is too strong? What if this alliance fails? What if fighting them means extinction? Meanwhile, far away in the dark, the humans were watching. On the flagship of the hidden fleet, Captain Eric Morrison stood before a glowing map of the galaxy. Thousands of red lights enemy fleets were converging. One of his officers spoke. They are coming for us. Every empire, every fleet. We are outnumbered 100 to 1. The captain's expression did not change. Good, he said quietly. Let them come. The officer hesitated. Sir, should we prepare the fleet for direct battle? Eric turned, his eyes cold. No, that is what they expect. We will not fight their war. We will fight ours. While the galaxy armed itself, the humans moved in silence. Scouts slipped into enemy space unseen. Codes were broken, secrets stolen. Hidden weapons were planted on supply lines. And on a dozen frontier worlds, strange rumors spread. Ships vanishing. In the night, admirals found dead in their chambers. Factories exploding without warning. The empires blamed each other. The alliance began to shake Dot, but not one of them suspected the truth. Humanity was already inside their walls. Dot, at the next war council on Zorath Prime, voices erupted again. Our supply lines are collapsing. One general shouted, factories are sabotaged, cried another. Your people did this, accused a third, pointing across the chamber. The council nearly descended into chaos. Accusations, threats, shouts of betrayal, until the High Chancellor roared, enough! This is humanity's work. Do not play their game. We strike tomorrow. The chamber fell silent. Tomorrow, the great fleet would depart. But above the dome, hidden far in the shadows of Zorath's moons, a single human stealth ship listened. Its sensors recorded every word, every plan, every weakness. The pilot smiled grimly. The galaxy is uniting, he whispered, just as the captain wanted. He sent the data back to the fleet. Humanity now knew everything. The next day, the greatest armada in galactic history began its march. Thousands of warships lit the void, engines blazing, weapons armed. They believed they were unstoppable, but somewhere in the darkness, unseen, the human fleet prepared, not to fight. Not yet, but to strike in a way the galaxy would never forget. For this was humanity's true power, not numbers, not size, not brute force, but patience, precision, and the ability to turn the enemy's strength against itself. And so, as the galaxy struck back, a shadow whispered in the dark, You think you are ready for us? You are not. Asterisk, the trap unfolds. The galaxy's greatest armada marched into the void. Thousands of ships, hundreds of species, all united by fear of one enemy, humanity. Engines blazed across the darkness like rivers of fire. The stars themselves seemed to dim under the shadow of so many warships. Admirals boasted, soldiers sang, and leaders declared victory before the battle had even begun. They believed no force could stand against them. They were wrong. Captain Eric Morrison watched from the flagship of the hidden human fleet. His eyes followed the red lights on the holomap enemy fleets converging on one system, the Koran Expanse, a dark region of space abandoned for centuries. No one dared enter it. No one except humanity. An officer approached. Sir, their vanguard has entered the Expanse. They will reach the center in 3 hours. Eric nodded. And the rest? Scattered, slow. Their fleets are stretched thin, just as you predicted. The captain allowed himself the faintest smile. Good. Begin the sequence. Far ahead, the alien armada entered the expanse. It was a place of black stars, shattered moons, and ancient ruins drifting like bones in the void. Their scanners flickered. Strange echoes rippled through their combs. "Stay tight," ordered the Krex admiral. "Human tricks cannot touch us here." But the officers felt uneasy. The silence was too deep. The darkness too heavy. And then it began. First, the stars themselves seemed to move. Entire constellations shifted, revealing hidden shapes in the void. Massive structures awakened human stations, black as night, built inside shattered asteroids. Before the aliens could react, the stations fired. Invisible beams cut across the armada. Ships vanished in bursts of light fire. "Shields up. Return fire," the admirals screamed, but their weapons hit nothing. The stations melted back into the darkness, shields absorbing the counterattack. Then came the second strike. The void itself seemed to ripple. Shadows detached from the darkness, human ships rising from stealth. Their hulls swallowed light, their movements precise and silent. They did not charge. They did not roar. They simply cut through the enemy with surgical strikes. One Zarkan dreadnought fell, split in two. A Krex battleship exploded from within its reactor, sabotaged days earlier by human spies. Entire formations collapsed as chaos spread. The alien admirals shouted in panic. "Form the line. Protect the carriers. Regroup, regroup." But the more they tried, the worse it became. The expanse itself was the trap. Gravity mines hidden in dead moons dragged ships into collisions. Fake. Signals lured fleets into ambushes. Supply convoys exploded, sabotaged, before they even left their docks. It was not a battle. It was slaughter. On the ground of a ruined world inside the expanse, alien soldiers watched the skies above them burn. One whispered, This isn't war. This is execution." Another trembled. "We should never have come here." Inside, the Krex flagship, the Supreme Commander slammed his fists on the table. How? How can they do this with so few ships? An officer answered, voice shaking. They knew. They knew everything. Our paths, our formations, even our weaknesses. It's as if his words froze as realization struck. It's as if they wanted us here. At that moment, the human fleet revealed its final move. From the heart of the expanse, the flagship emerged. Larger than any seen before, its hull was etched with ancient scars. Yet its presence radiated strength. The humans broadcast one single line across all channels. "You brought your war to us. Now we end it." Then the flagship fired. A wave of energy rippled outward, disabling enemy shields across the battlefield. For one heartbeat, the armada was naked. And in that heartbeat, the human fleet struck. Carriers vanished. Dreadnoughts split apart. Entire squadrons burned. The galaxy's greatest armada, the one built on fear, pride, and arrogance, shattered like glass. When it was over, silence returned to the expanse. Wreckage floated among the stars. Flames licked the ruins of once proud warships. The humans did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They simply withdrew into the dark, leaving the galaxy to face the truth. The trap had been sprung. The alliance was broken. And humanity had proven one thing beyond doubt. They were no longer the hunted. They were the hunters. Humanity's final reply. The Quran expanse was silent. The fire of the great battle still burned across broken moons and shattered hulls. Wreckage drifted like metal tombs in the endless dark. The galaxy's proudest fleets, thousands of ships, hundreds of species had marched together. Now only fragments remained. And above it all, in the shadow of a dead star, the human flagship stood alone. On its bridge, Captain Eric Morrison looked across the battlefield map. The red lights were gone. Only wreckage remained. His officers waited, silent, their faces grim. One finally spoke. "Sir, the Alliance fleets are broken. The survivors are retreating. The galaxy is watching." Eric's eyes narrowed. Then it's time to speak. A channel was opened. Across every system, every empire, every homeworld, screens lit up. Billions stopped what they were doing. Rulers froze in their palaces. Soldiers stared at the sky. Children looked up in silence. And then the humans appeared. Captain Eric stood. Tall, scarred but unbroken, the human flag behind him. His voice carried across the stars. "You called us weak. You called us dangerous. You united your fleets to destroy us, and you failed." He paused, letting the silence strike deep. "Humanity has no wish to rule your empires. We do not want your worlds. We do not want your crowns. But make no mistake," his voice sharpened. "If you come for us again, if you threaten our children, our homes, or our future, then you will find no mercy." Across the galaxy, people trembled. Admirals lowered their heads. Even the High Chancellor of the Council sat frozen, claws shaking. But Eric was not finished. "You believed your numbers gave you strength. But your unity was false. Built on fear. Built on lies. Humanity is different. We fight not for empires, but for each other. We fight because we remember the ashes of Earth, and we swore never again." He leaned closer, eyes blazing. "Remember, this one human ship was enough to shake your galaxy. Imagine what happens when all of us rise." The broadcast ended. For a long moment, silence ruled. Then whispers began to spread across worlds, some of fear, some of respect, and some of hope. On the ruined world of Zorath Prime, where the War Council had once met, ordinary citizens gathered in streets, watching the replay. An old alien elder whispered, Perhaps they are not monsters. Perhaps they are what we wished we could be." Others murmured in agreement. Not everyone hated the humans anymore. Some began to see them as something else, not conquerors, not destroyers, but survivors. Meanwhile, within the human fleet, the officers turned to their captain. "Sir," one asked, "what now? Do we strike their capitals? Do we take their worlds?" Eric shook his head slowly. "No, we've already won. Let them fear us. Let them remember. The galaxy will change without us firing another shot." Another officer frowned. "But if they unite again?" Eric's voice was calm, certain. "They won't. Fear will break them apart. Rivalries will return. They'll fight each other long before they dare fight us again. And when they do," he let the words hang in the air, "they'll know humanity is watching." And so the human fleet faded back into the void. They left no occupation armies, no colonies, no banners on conquered worlds, only wreckage. And memory. Weeks later, across the galaxy, the Great Alliance collapsed. Empires turned on one another, blaming each other for the disaster. The Council fractured. Old wars reignited. But one name was never spoken with arrogance again. Humanity. Years later, songs were written, stories told. Children whispered about the shadow fleet that struck in the expanse. They told of a people who fought not with numbers, but with will. Galaxy had tried to destroy humanity. Instead, humanity had changed the galaxy forever. In the darkness of deep space, Captain Eric stood once more at the viewport of his ship. The stars stretched before him uncounted, unclaimed. A young officer approached. "Captain, do you think they'll ever come for us again?" Eric's gaze remained on the stars. "Maybe," he said softly. "But next time, they'll remember." And as the fleet vanished into the endless night, one truth echoed across the galaxy. When war consumed the stars, it was humanity's reply that reshaped them forever. Asterisk.